one-way fighting.
Hello, you're free to one-way fighting with Neill Smith and Clark Champion. Now, I've got to say, me man Miles Muncie, who I do the podcast with, Clark, he's not like us sitting off here, whatever. He's got he's getting matched for a fight in June or July, hopefully, if all this goes well with COVID in the UK. So I don't know where he's doing it, how he's doing it because of the UK restrictions, but he's doing some form of training because he couldn't get it done today. He's got to put the graft in. I have set an invite for this podcast, so if he jumps in halfway through, he jumps in.
Yes,
If he doesn't. It's no problem, you know. So for anyone watching, me and Clark go way back. Now, Clark, I'm fucking on intermittent fasting and stuff at the minute. I've been restricting myself to like a beer once a month and that. But, you know, I haven't seen you in a while and I can't go to the pub. I've purchased 2 bottles of Heineken. That's all I'm allowed because the missus is out in the kitchen bed. So I'm having a beer with you. That's me. But
I'm on a Diet Pepsi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no drinking for me, mate.
Yeah, no, well,
Definitely.
like I said, I've got the kids in bed, like, so hopefully they'll stay asleep. But yeah, so me and Clark go way back. You know, I've trained in numerous different gyms, but I spent a long period helping out and doing the gym with you as well as training under you and stuff like that. And you're still going with Pure Warrior now, yeah?
No, it's just Warrior MMA now, Neil.
Warrior
yeah, it's just
MMA.
Warrior MMA.
So that's based out in Crosby in Liverpool. And you're on Oxford Road, aren't you, if anyone's watching from the area?
Yeah, that's it, yeah, just on Oxford Road.
Yeah. Marcus Perkins on the side now, his kids are going there, aren't they?
Yeah, Marcus, yeah, his son does karate with me.
Well, here you go. You've got your first referral. You charge Marcus for like he would. First referral, he was telling me that his kids have gone on the ground game phenomenally, and he said he didn't expect them to see them progress. He just thought they were going there to touch each other up and stuff like that, you know. He said to me on message that they're progressing well, mate. So there's your confirmation that you're doing right.
Yeah, he absolutely loves it. So, and he's a sound kid as well. Marcus is sound, so
yeah,
it's all good.
So for the podcast, mate, I mean, one of the main reasons I wanted to get you on, apart from that we were mates, and it gives me a reason to blag, a reason I can have a beer. I want to focus on a lot of the grassroots, and your gym at the minute sort of focuses on that sort of amateur break and professional level. I had Sean Hammer on the other day. I had Ross Pointing on. Obviously, I'm not friends with your Adesanyas and stuff like that. You know, I'd like to get them on, but, you know, I'll have to stick with you for now, mate. But it's one of them.
Oh, for you.
Yeah. But no, for me, it's ideal, really, because you see these podcasts trying to push all the famous people, and the grassroots level really is what a lot of the community should be pushing in any combat sports, whether it's boxing, MMA, Thai or whatnot. And it's nice to get people on who've done it at the higher level and stuff like that. But you've been around the circuit for years. So do you want to give us a bit of background on the gym and where you started out? And
well, yeah, I mean, you know, I got into it really late, Neil, as you know. I mean, you know, I didn't have my first fight till I was 41, which is ridiculous, isn't it, really, when you think of it, because most lads are retiring around that age or even younger. So, I mean, I got into it through karate. You know, I started training with my brother-in-law, you know, obviously.
yeah.
We were just doing training. He was just teaching me karate. They ran a karate club which closed, but he still had the property. So we just used to go in to get fit, because I just put loads of weight on, played football till I was 26, stopped playing, and then didn't do anything for years and years. And then about 10 years later, Lee was just saying, do you want to come and do pads and stuff? So I was like, yeah, sound. Lee was a black belt in karate. It's like, yeah, definitely have a go, like. So we just started doing that, you know, just training together. He was teaching me stuff, you know, go through all the kicks and all this. And then we just got into it more and more. And he just said, should we, you know, open the club up again? So I was like, yeah, defo, yeah, we'll have a go. So that's when we started it was the Bootle Show to Kai Karate then, by the North Park. So we were just, you know, doing the karate there. And then I started going to like Next Gen and Cabana and a few other gyms with my other brother-in-law, David. So I was just getting into it then, you know, just sort of, it was purely for fitness, you know, just to get a bit fit and, you know, lose a bit of weight and look after myself a little bit. But, you know, obviously got really into it at that time, because we're talking about like, I don't know, that must be 13, 14 years ago now, isn't it?
I was going to say, mate,
You know what I mean?
yeah, because that's when I met you, really, wasn't it?
That's what I mean, because I'm like 50 now, do you know what I mean? So like, it was about 2000 and, I don't know, 8, something like that. I started getting into it a little bit more. Yeah, and at that time in Liverpool, it was getting pretty big. Like by then, you know, there was a few little shows going, and you had like that Dome show. There was a few other Sean's show, the ABC show, and it just started getting big. And I think it was Sean's who you had on the other day.
Yeah, ACB, it's amateur cage battles. He did it with Lee Decker, didn't he?
Yeah, in the Devonshire Hotel it was. So I just got into it through that. And that's when I started getting to meet people and enjoying it more and wanted to get a bit more involved in that. And then I got made redundant from the job. I worked in mental health 20 odd years and then got made redundant. And it was like, well, hold on, I need a career now. Got to do something. So we had the karate club. And then we just decided, I just said, should we expand it and we'll get into MMA a bit more and we'll do, you know, we'll get a few coaches in and I'll try and run it as a business. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Do the personal training and that sort of stuff. So that's when we opened the Ki Centre. That was in Crosby as well. And in the youth centre there, we hired the hall. It was like an empty building, wasn't getting used. And I think that's where we started training together then.
Yeah, it was.
Around that time.
I remember I'd done Thai on and off and stuff like that. And I mean, when I say on and off, I'd do like 6 months here, leave it a year, 6 months, leave it a year, just because of what I was doing. But I'd always boxed for a good while. Couldn't tell you how long, but I'd boxed wherever it was because I've been here, there and everywhere, me all over the country and that, like doing different things with work and stuff. So I've always done that. And I remember, who was that kid? This is what I was thinking of before, because the first time I met you, I just thought, I got a flyer through the door and I thought, it's around the corner from me because I just got this new flat in Crosby.
Yeah, that was me.
Who?
No, so that was me. I always put them flyers.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I used to do all the
time. The first time I come round, I seen you and you were just putting the mats away. Because like you say, you were renting the building, so you were putting the mats in and out, and it was a bit of a graft. So I helped you do the mats and just chatted to you because I can't not stop talking ever. So like you probably just thought, who the fuck's this kid here walking in like this big kid just chatting your ear off. And then you said, come back tomorrow, come at this time and we're training. And there was that kid, the James Bray, who, if anyone doesn't know who he is, he'd won a couple of amateur things. He got an amateur belt on Ross Point and show the GP UK. Good friend of ours because he trained a lot. He came from Wales to Liverpool every other day, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did a flying knee on this fella in ACB, didn't he? The ball fella, Dave Coward, brought him there. And I'd come in anyway.
Ben Malone.
That's it.
Yeah, Ben Malone it was. Ben Malone.
I'm 18 stone something at the time, you know, as well as doing all the boxing and that, I'd be hitting the bodybuilding type stuff. Not that I was a great bodybuilder at any point, but I was like looking at that sort of thing. And I'd gone in with this boxing stance. And I just remember, even though I'd done Thai here, there and everywhere, it must have been about 12 months since I'd last done it. And he just took me front leg off. And this kid's what, welterweight, middleweight maybe. And I wasn't really looking at him as if, I didn't look at him as if he was anything. I mean, he was one of the better fighters in the gym that day, but I was just like, And as soon as he did that, my guard dropped as if to say, what's that in my shin? And then he just come round and fucking head kicked me. And I'm about 5 inches taller than him. And he just caught me dead on the jaw. Took it like a champ, lads. I shrugged it off. But
I remember you going down and crying, to be honest. But
yeah. Fucking old, aren't you?
But that's it, because it was a good group of lads, to be honest. There was a lot of younger ones, wasn't there? Do you know what I mean? But there was, that Ben Malone thing, he was good.
That's what got me started.
Yeah.
That sort of going in thinking I'm all right, and then going in, dropping me guards at that, and just thinking I need to learn this now.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, well, that's it, because I didn't know any of the ground game really. I just done the stand up with Lee, the kickboxing. But to be honest, like, I mean, the karate does teach you a lot of the ground stuff. You know, there was loads of arm bars, all the chokes, and the locks that they do, and that really helps with BJJ, because sometimes I get stuff on people that they just not expecting, because you learn it in karate, you don't learn it in BJJ. So, like, you know, a lot of that stuff really helps me.
Small joint manipulation and stuff like that on someone, because
just really sneaky stuff, like, to be honest. But
a lot of that good stuff's good for like self-defense to a degree. I don't think you can get away with all of it.
Yeah.
I think some of it's like, you know, you shouldn't be teaching people that and calling it self-defense, but then there's elements of it you should be, because, you know, you have your busy locks. I'm saying busy locks, police locks and stuff, but I remember rolling with Lee thinking that's not legal, and he'd be doing shit with my fingers and that, like trying to break my fucking fingers.
Yeah, didn't take any prisoners, Lee.
Oh, good lads as well.
But yeah. But no, it was good. I mean, it was a good little bunch of lads there. I mean, it was like a lot of young ones who came through with us. Like, I mean, one of the younger ones, Sean Martlew, he's still with me. Do you know what I mean? From back then.
He's just like
he's going to fight this year.
How's he doing? How's he doing?
He's doing good. Yeah, he's doing good. He was meant to fight. Yeah, he was meant to fight on Ray Thompson's show. Was it AFC? Is it, or one of them? He was meant to fight in November, obviously with the lockdown and all that. It didn't happen, but he'll fight this year. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
he's been with us since. So, must be 20 or 22, something like that. 21, 22. Same old. Oh no, he's around our Joe's age. So he's about 20. Yeah.
I know his dad.
You know, he came as a kid. Yeah. So, you know, he was there, you know, and then Jason Peterson, he's a good lad, you know, he fought on Bama and Cage Warriors with us.
Yeah, he fought on Cage Warriors, didn't he?
Cage Warriors and Bama he fought on, mate. Yeah, he's done really well. So, and then, like, when we done the only class on a Sunday, we were the only gym in Liverpool that opens on a Sunday. I don't know if you remember that. At the KI.
No, I do remember because we've got, so I don't know if he's going to thank me for this. He's not someone I want to piss off, but Tony Duffy.
Tony, I was just thinking that's where Tony came. That's how we met Tony, wasn't it? Because he come on the Sunday because he was looking for a gym that opens on a Sunday.
Yeah,
and that was it. And that's how. And I always remember him coming on his motorbike. You know, and that's how we met Tony, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? So.
Fucking nails, mate. I'm telling you now. I remember he used to work the doors. He used to work the doors in Mood Indigo and that, and he's about yay big compared to me. And I remember we had a night, didn't we? We were watching the UFC. I can't remember which event it was, but you come round to my flat. There was me, you, Tony Duffy, and I've got two of the mates, and they're a bit sarcastic and that. And my mate Sean, he went to Tony, after Tony had a few drinks, and he went, "Oh, you do that cage fighting, don't you? That UFC and all that." Tony Duffy just looked at him and went, but keep in mind, Tony's not just hard because he's doing cage fighting. He's been in the Marines. He was boxing. I think he got a belt in the Marines.
Yeah, he's a tough fella, didn't he?
I think he did like a tour of Afghan or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but like he's seen action and that, you know, he's like mentally tough. Being through the mill.
Yeah, he's a tough fella. And
Sean's taking the piss out of him. And he just looked at him and went, "I know what you're doing, lad. You need to shut the fuck up now." And I just remember all three of us just stood there like, "Calm down, Tony. Calm down." And I had the same thing. I remember he's southpaw, and I was doing an inside leg kick on his lead kick when we were sparring. And I just remember getting this kick to the body off, and oh, fucking hell. Stop doing that, because he's going to punish you.
I always remember him. He always used to tuck his shorts up. He'll always remember it. He'll laugh if he's watching it. But you know, when he was doing his kicks, he'd always roll his kicks up his shorts so he could kick higher and that. Like, it's always funny. But he was boss. But I do remember that night, Neil. I don't know whether actually we should talk about that night, like. But something happened to me that night. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember who was the blonde lad? The one
with the guns when it came.
Yeah, he shot me.
Only airsoft. It was me. It was me.
Airsoft.
They were only
That was
barbarians.
hilarious.
No, for the
You and Tony burst in. Who's
Yeah.
that lad? He went out with the girl from the gym. Oh, what was his name? Can't remember his name. But it was me and him in the kitchen, in your kitchen. And you and Tony burst in with the guns and shot us.
Yeah. SAS stormed the room.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think I got off after that. I think I had to
with Neill.
It was hilarious. Oh, it's so funny.
You didn't laugh at the time.
Good night, that. Yeah.
Didn't laugh then.
I think like it was 3 in the morning. I think I said to you, I think I'm going to go home now, Neil, you know. I think I've had enough.
I don't think you watched the main event.
Getting shot was the last one. What?
You didn't watch the main event, did you?
No, I think I got off. I think I was there. I think after being shot, I thought, you know, I think I better go now. That sort of spoiled the night. But yeah, it was good fun, wasn't it? It was absolutely good fun. Like, but yes, but that's going back to like the gym. That's obviously that's where we met Tony, wasn't it? So and he's phenomenal.
He's still grappling now and stuff like that. I see him doing the competition stuff.
Fighting all over the country. Yeah, he was on that. What's that grappling competition? Can't think of it. One of the big ones. He's been on that. He's done really well. Tony's fantastic. Like, so, you know,
he's got
really
the mindset of where he's been. I mean, and that he's got that mindset of discipline. You see, I was working in the solicitors, and I had to network. I was doing 12 hours a day, and I wish I had the same mindset he did. Because if whatever it was, he'd put it to one side and just, like you say, he came to our gym because he was looking for the gym open on Sunday.
Yeah, he was just dead focused, wasn't he? Really good, really good. But yeah, so that's, and then obviously, you know, like James was there, wasn't he? A few lads come from Anglesey though, didn't he? Do you remember? There was
Dalton
James
Thorne
Williams.
came a few times. He won the ACB middleweight, didn't he?
Oh, sorry,
Dalton
Thorne. Yeah, Dalton Thorne. Yeah, Dalton Thorne came. James Williams, who's I think he's with Next Gen or something now. He's doing really well, pro and everything. I think he is now. Well, so
he threw some tasty kicks.
A good lad. Yeah, really good, really good. And then James, obviously, you know, fought everywhere, didn't he? I mean, you know, I was thinking about like his fights and that. Actually, you know, he's fought some top fellas, you know, absolutely top fellas. You know,
he was the one he fought like Kev Thingy.
Kev Fryer. I mean, look
at Kev Fryer.
He's excellent, wasn't he? Or something. Brilliant fighter. Adam Pennington, good amateur.
Him
for the British title. I mean, he only lost that in the last second or something. Didn't you remember that? It's a crazy fight that. James dominated that and then just got caught with a triangle or something, didn't he?
Pinno's got it in. I'll post that fight below because James was pummeling him from my memory. And Pinno said to me when I met him in town one day, I said to him, like, you know, he must have hit you hard and that. And he went, was it Dalton Thorne? It was pummeling Pinno as well, wasn't he?
No, I don't know. No, it was definitely James fought him and he lost in the last 10 seconds or something.
But I was asking Pinno which was worse because he took punishments off both of them, and I think did he come out in the win on both of them as well? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll post both of the fights below. But he took some punishment there, and it was either one of those fights, and he said, "I don't remember whether it was actually doing the armbar triangle, whatever he finished with." He said, "I don't remember like a certain portion of it." And then I just remember coming to, but I was still standing, trading, and that's crazy. He's got a heart in.
Yeah, Adam,
if you watch it.
Yeah, I mean, he was a tough lad. Fit, wasn't he? Fit fella. I think he used to, because I was meant to fight Adam. He was one of the, when I was going to have a fight, he was the one who I was going to have a fight with.
Yeah.
Was Adam. But I don't know, whatever reason, it didn't come off or whatever. But he was a fit lad. I think he climbed a lot of mountains and done all that sort of stuff, didn't he? He was a fit fella, like, so.
He looks like 0% body fat, doesn't he?
Yeah. But I remember James in that fight, like I think he proper like smashed him a bit, like his nose was everywhere. So props to Adam, like coming back and getting that win, like it was a sensational fight, like it was a boss fight. I think that's where I first. Yeah, it was brilliant. It was a great fight, absolutely great fight. But James, tough fella. James tough. Come through some battles, and he's got the wins as well. He's a good lad. Good lad.
Yeah. And the thing with James is, I don't know if he'll thank me for saying, but James cares that much about it. I remember when he lost to Kev Fryer, and we'd cornered him, and when we went round the back, his emotions just got the better of him, and it was nothing to be ashamed of. It was that he cared that much about getting the W and just putting the performance on.
He loves it as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I've got the utmost respect for that.
Really, he's an absolute warrior. He battles. He's a warrior. He puts it out there. He doesn't. And you know what? James doesn't shy away from anyone. And he's fought at different weights as well. Like, so, I mean, he got down to welterweight a couple of times, and you know the size of James. Like, he's a big lad, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? For him to get down to welterweight, it's tough going. Do you know what I mean? He's a big lad. I
couldn't be bothered with all that.
I mean, I think the fight he had on. What? Sorry.
I couldn't be bothered doing all that, getting down to welterweight.
No. But I mean, yeah, definitely. But he's I think when he fought on Bama James, he was fighting at welterweight, and he shouldn't really be fighting at welterweight. He's too big for welterweight. I mean, he could have been a light heavyweight, to be honest. Like,
I think he did fight at light heavy, didn't he?
I think he has done. I think he's gone from welterweight Middleton, but he mainly stays at middleweight. But he's a big lad, like big lad. So yeah, he was great. James was good fun.
Who have you got in the gym at the minute? Who's potential fighting anytime soon?
There's a couple of people. I mean, because it's hard now, because we were just doing well, because obviously we've got this new place, and it's only small. It's a bit like the old Warrior Gym. Do you know what I mean? It's a small little place, but it makes it gets competitive, doesn't it? There's nowhere to hide, is there?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you've got a big gym, you can shy away, and you can shy away from people when it comes to like sparring or grappling and stuff. When it's a smaller gym, there's nowhere to go. You turn around, the next fella's there, and you've got to go. You can't hide. So, I mean, there's the ones who are going to fight. I mean, there's obviously Chris Middleton. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of fights. He's fought on Rob's show, UK Fighting Championships. He's done all right on that. He's had a win and a loss. Sean's obviously going to fight, and there's a fella called Tony who wants to fight. He's a heavyweight as well.
You were telling me about him not so long ago, yeah.
Yeah. He's been out a lot of the gyms and that. Like, he's a nice fella, good lad. And what the heavyweight scene's like. It's if you're half decent, like you've got a good chance of progressing. Like, you know what I mean?
The one thing I found out was, not necessarily a professional, but an amateur, there's so much ego with being a heavyweight, because you're naturally a big person. And I remember before I got that fight with Rob Beach, I had 4 fights pull out, and it's because people don't want to lose when they're that big, because they're used to having that ego. I mean, if I'm not trained and I start to get a bit smaller, I get it. It's like bigorexia. You sort of like, people don't look at you as if you're a big guy, and if you lose in front of people, it's like that sort of, it's that worry, And I always found it was hard to get fights at the amateur scene at heavyweight. I thought there were a lot more people pulling out at heavyweight than there was in any other weight class. And that might just be me. I think a promoter might tell you.
It seems a smaller gene pool as well. Like, I mean, there's not that many heavyweights. It seems, there's you go in the gyms. There's not that many heavyweights. Do you know what I mean? Our gyms, when we've trained, I was one of the biggest lads. Do you know what I mean? I was only fighting middleweight, and then you've got James at middleweight, and then everyone else was like the smaller weights, weren't they? Bantamweights and stuff like that. There was only yourself. It's hard for the bigger lads to get training sometimes, because there isn't that many bigger lads doing it.
Outside. I had to do a lot of my sparring
Yeah,
outside.
that's it. It was tough. Do you know what I mean? Because it's hard for us, like, because if you were going like a bit heavier, like, you know, it's hard getting hit by a heavyweight. And you know, you know, you can probably be all right against a lad who's not as experienced. It doesn't matter because he can't hit you because you're too quick anyway, or you know, you've got a bit more experience than him. But like when we were sparring with yourself and that, it was tough because we couldn't get away with stuff. So if you're getting hit, you were getting hit. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's difficult, I think, for the heavyweights to get that sort of sparring because there isn't that many lads who do it. Do you know what I mean? The heavyweights, it doesn't seem it. And especially when it comes to fights, you definitely can't get the fights. It's like, I remember, like you said, we struggled to get you a fight, didn't we? We were struggling all the time, you know, to fight. So hence we took the first fight, which was crazy, really, when you think about it, to fight Rob Beach. Do you know what I mean? It was, but I think it was, you were so keen to fight. But you know, it was a British title.
I'm my own worst enemy.
And Rob,
I'm my own worst enemy because I always just think if you're going to fight anyone. Otherwise, don't bother getting in. And I think maybe I was, 25, 26. I was an adult. Yeah. I should have said, I mean, I'd had into gyms and stuff like that running up, but my first amateur fight being a title fight.
Maybe, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah. But
I think that's what it was. I mean, I think part of the problem, Neil, we had was.
Glad they did it.
Yeah, still. I mean, it was a great fight. Yeah. But I think that was part of we had, because when we moved from the KI Centre, so we're talking 2013 or whatever, we moved, and I opened my own gym then. I moved away from Lee and the karate and just purely MMA then. And we had a good bunch of lads there. There was quite a few lads who were, you know, like Jason, Josh, RJO, yourself. You know, there was a few lads there who, you know, who got stuck in and would have a go. And it was quite mental at times, really, when you think about it. I mean, we were just a small little gym in Crosby, but we were like, right, we'll fight anyone.
Do you miss the banter when you're not being there? Do you miss the banter when I'm not there?
It was amazing. Do you know what I mean? It was fun, wasn't it? I mean, you know, you got rinsed, didn't you? Absolutely rinsed again. It was that small gym mentality, wasn't it? There was nowhere to go, but everyone was your mate and everyone was your. But then when we sparred, now everyone got stuck in, didn't they? I mean, you know.
I made sure there were a few whipping boys in there, didn't I?
I think I was one of them. But you know, but we all did it, didn't we? We all got stuck in, and it was quite. I think because again, wall gym, and we were a bit like Scrappy Doo, weren't we? You know, we were like, yeah, we'll fight anyone. You know, no matter what fight, we'd take it. You know what I mean? You know, we would take a fight
the best of what you got.
Yeah, I mean, because I look back at my first fight. I mean, I was 41 at the time taking my first fight. And I remember I was meant to be fighting this Bolivian fella it was. Yeah. And he pulled out a few weeks before or something. Yeah. And then you got Mark Sutton. Do you know what I mean? Who, it was his sort of like third MMA fight or something. And he'd had 36 or something Thai fights. And he was a Thai coach over the water somewhere. Dead nice fella, do you know what I mean? But, you know, let's be honest, he was... Do you know what I mean? Massive fella. And, you know, that was my first fight. And it was a bit stupid to take that fight when I think about it. Do you know what I mean? But again, like you were saying before, your pride gets ahead of you. You think, well, I'm not backing down to no one. Do you know what I mean? And that's a bit my attitude as well. Well, I'm just going to do it, you know? So,
yeah, I think as well, frustration in the amateur scene at that time. I mean, I've not competed for some time, but the amateur scene at that time, the amount of people pulling out, it was like they were doing it to tell their friends and put a Facebook picture on. Yeah. And it was one of them. I was doing a 12-hour day in the solicitors sometimes. Sometimes it'd be 8, sometimes it'd be 12. But I was getting up at like 5 or 6 in the morning to train. I mean, we were in the gym trying to Shark Tank at one point at 6 in the morning in the run up to one of my fights. Yeah. And then I'd get out of work, I'd get home, I'd eat. I'd have trained in my dinner hour at the gym in town. And then I'd do a class because I was teaching like the boxing or something at the time, wasn't I? Or I did a couple of the wrestling classes occasionally. And then I'd train again after that. And then I'd get home, it'd be 12 o'clock, I'd eat, just to keep my calories up, and then I'd be in bed. That was me day life. And then you do that for 2 to 3 months running up, and then someone pulls out, and then they wonder why you take the stupid fight, because I'm fucking killing myself for 2 months for some prick to pull out.
It's so cool.
I mean, some of them are genuine, but a lot of them aren't. Some of them are just like not fully in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that lad who pulls out, it was genuine. I think that, you know, unfortunately his brother died or something that was quite serious. Like, so, you know, it was a genuine reason. Like, you know, but like, you know, for me to take that fight was a bit silly, really. Do you know what I mean? But I trained for it, you know, and it was tough, you know, because I always remember the whole day, like, because, you know, a lot of people had come up to see me do the fight, and I'd lost a lot of weight for that fight, you know, on the day of the weigh-in. I got my weights wrong and I had to lose a lot of weight, quite dehydrated. And then I thought I was going to be on quite early at that fight. It was in the Greenbank Arena or something.
Greenbank Sports Centre, Sefton Park.
Sports Centre, that's it. Yeah. So I thought I'd be on early. And then, you know, I wasn't on till 10:30 at night. So I've been there all day, you know, and I was knackered. I was absolutely like drained. And, you know, your adrenaline's going, isn't it? And you know, it's your first fight and you think, shit, you know, I'm gonna get my head kicked in front of like 40 people who've come to see me and stuff. And then I just remember it's dead funny, like, as well, because do you remember you get me behind the where the seating was?
Yeah, I wasn't cornering on it, so I was wankered.
Oh man, honest to God, I had a fight before with you before I got in the cage. You're like grabbing me and dragging me everywhere, going, he's got to do this, you've got to kill him, you've got to do that. And like, the bouncers were looking at us because it looked like, you were absolutely off on one. But you're going, you've got to kill him, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. And like, you were dragging me everywhere, like, and I'm like, you know, already knackered. Do you know what I mean? I was mentally knackered as well as physically. And you're like 18, 19 stone, dragging me everywhere. And I'm going, fucking hell, Neill. Do you know what I mean? You're going, you got to fucking kill him, you got to kill him. You know, and the bouncers were looking at us because thought we were fighting at one point.
You know what? Roxanne said it to me once. My missus, she went, so you don't understand, Neill, why so many people have a problem with you. And I'm like, what do you mean? She went, so if you're out and you've had a drink, you think hey, how are you? I mean, really what we all see is, let's have a good time. This, that. I'm like chickening them everywhere. And I'm like, just 100 miles an hour because I'm excited. Just, so I apologize.
Honestly,
it's an
it went on for 20 minutes. It went on for about 20 minutes, so I felt that. Do you know what I mean? But like you say, it wasn't an arm around the shoulders and come on, mate, we'll get this, we'll get the win here. You literally dragged me everywhere, and I was just like, fucking hell. Let go of me. And then I always remember it as well because, you know, I went to toilet, you know, you're dying for the piss, aren't you, and stuff before the fight, and you think, oh, I can't, you know, need a piss when I'm having the fight. So I went in the toilet and I was thinking, do you know what, mate? I was thinking, what am I doing? I'm 41 here, and like, I'm going to get killed here. Do you know what I mean? So I was in the toilet thinking, I'm just going to hide.
Did yourself proud?
Oh, no, it was all right. I mean, you know, but I was just thinking, I'm going to hide. I'm not coming out. I don't fancy this. And then they were banging on the door going, come on, get on. It's like, shit. So I had to go out. But, you know, when I went out, I couldn't even see properly, you know. That scene of Rocky, I've said it to people before, you know, when you can't see the crowd. I felt like that. My head had gone. I was just totally knackered. And then when we got in the cage, it's like, it's scary. If anyone's never done it and, you know, they want to ever experience it, it's quite frightening. You know, because the reality of it, I think that's why people freeze as well, because it's the reality of it, because there's a few people mulling around and then all of a sudden it's just you and that fella. Do you know what I mean? And you're like, shit, you know, he's, you know, and he loved the business as well. Like, so I was like, you know what I mean? And I remember it, like, because I threw a kick or something and he caught it and he pushed me down and then he was on top of me and I'm like scrambling to get away and his weight was on top of me and he was a big, heavy lad, like. And I always remember look back at the video and I just held on to him. I nearly got a triangle on him or something. I nearly got something off my back. But then the ref, he stood up. Well, sorry.
You were trading with him?
Yeah, well, that was a bit later on. But But in that first few seconds, like first 2 minutes, it was like the biggest 2 minutes of my life. I mean, I was knackering. I mean, he was lying on top of me, and his weight was on me and everything. And then he got up, and the ref said, "Stand up." And I literally looked at the ref and went, "You're gonna have to fucking help me up, mate, because I can't stand here." I literally didn't think I could stand up. Got up, and then it got into the second round, didn't it? And we went for it a little bit. I got him a couple of times, like, hit him quite a few times, like. And then I think I was absolutely done. I was spent, absolutely spent. And I think I went for like
adrenaline drop, isn't it?
Something. Yeah, it was just a massive dump of adrenaline. And I knew I had nothing left. He was kicking me a couple of times in the legs. It wasn't hurting because your adrenaline's there and you're not feeling it. And then I just got knackered. And I went for I trained for it. Like I was like for like a hip toss into an armbar. And I just got it wrong. And then next minute he was on top of me, choked me. That was it. Fight over. Like, it was done. But I was just happy I got out alive, to be honest, because I wasn't doing it for like a career or, I'm going to be in the UFC or anything like that or anything. It was just I wanted to have a go. Yeah, and just see if I could do it. We've been training with a lot of people. I thought, I'm going to have a little go and just see, 41. I thought I was only going to have one fight, but that's it. I'll have one fight. And just have a go. So, but it was all right. It was good. I survived. Didn't get killed. So it was a win as far as I was concerned. But he was sound as well.
You won your last one. How old were you then? 48?
47.
47.
47. I had my last fight in 2017. I was 47. So, and I won that 1 minute 14 TKO.
Yeah, I saw it, yeah.
That was on UK Fighting Championships as well.
Yeah.
Rob, so I was boss, really good, really enjoyed it, so it's all good. And I want one more. Yeah, I want one more. I think.
I've had ideas of stuff like that, mate. It's one of them. I'm just sort of. I've got the two kids who are younger now. How old's Zachy and how old are your kids now?
Well, Blake and Zach are 11 and 9. So they're a bit older now. And like our Joe, would you believe, he's 21 now? He's 21 this year.
I mean,
yeah. So
for me, I've got a 1 and 4-year-old, and
yeah,
I'm trying to do some script writing at the minute. I'm trying to do the podcast. I'm supposedly going back to work in May because I'm on ERTE, which is furlough in Spain. So being out in Gran Canaria, I'm when the tourists come back, I'm back at work. So
yeah,
I'd love to do one. And plus, there aren't many shows on the island. It's not like the UK where you've got show after show after show. I was actually thinking about doing a show. Putting some money aside and doing one out there and just do like a white collar. The problem is, if you're organising it, you don't get to jump in. And I know what I'm like. All you have to do is catch me when I'm out on the aisle.
Signed up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. I mean, mine's nothing to do with ale. Mine's just my I don't know, maybe ego or whatever it is. But I just still think I could do it one more time, and I don't think I've done myself justice as well. So I always feel like I could do more and do better. So
I'm dead placid.
I don't know. I'll have a think about it.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was going to say.
I've got like.
I'm dead placid. So I don't fight when I'm outdoors. I don't do nothing like that.
Yeah, no. But I like my knees are shot as well. Like, so I've got to be careful with them. Like, my knees are done, so I've got to be a bit careful. Like, so. But I had that last fight with 2 torn ligaments, but they're snapped off, aren't they? So I had my last fight with 2 ligaments completely snapped off. So I still had that fight. So I'll have a go.
Sometimes
you never know. Never say
high,
never. Yeah. Never say never. Maybe one more.
If you get to be honest, age category, then I don't see why not.
Yeah, that's it. No. Don't know. There's not many 50-year-olds fighting, though, is there? That's the only problem. So
Tyson and Jones. Tyson and Roy Jones.
Yeah, that's it. I'll end up with someone like our Joe, and I just don't fancy that. Like, so, but no, I don't know. I'll just see what happens. I mean, I just want the gyms to open again. Once we open them, it looks like May. You know what I mean? So I'll take it from there. But got to concentrate on the other lads first. See how they get on. See what they want to do. So
Yeah. Well, that's your first priority as an owner, isn't it? As a coach.
Yeah, just look after them. And I think going back to all the stuff like what we were saying about, the gyms that, because, we've had the Warrior and then I moved to a big, massive gym, didn't I? Do you know what I mean? That didn't work out but,
with Christian on
Oh, sorry.
That was the one with Christian, wasn't it? The
the Bowl, yeah. I mean that was an a complete fuck up, to be honest. What an opportunity that was. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to go into the ins and outs of it too much. Do you know what I mean? I know what happened, and I think
was there animosity, was there, or
greed? Do you know what I mean? Some people get above themselves and think they're better than other people, and they know what they're doing. And I'm not going to say too much. Do you know what I mean? But I'll say it to someone's face if I've got to. Do you know what I mean? I've got nothing to hide. So
you've got to take your opportunities, Clark. And sometimes it doesn't work out.
It was a shame because it was, what we had at Warrior, the little gym, and it was boss, and we had that, and we were getting that atmosphere at Evolve, and it was good. And that's where I had my fight as well. So we were on it like a big high, and then it didn't work out. And that's he's not there anymore, is he? In that C4 one. So it's a shame because it had everything. I mean, it literally could have been the biggest gym in the area, easy. It was massive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember the setup was good.
Yeah, cage in there, ring in there, massive space for grappling. It had everything. But
because I lived around the corner on Elm Road, so I remember coming in when we had the first baby. So that's only about 4 years ago, because we had the Kagan, the youngest.
I went there about 2015, 2016, and then I left in 2000, and that opened up Warrior again. So, but yeah, it's a regret, you know what I mean? Because I think it could have been spectacular, to be honest. I think it could have been massive, and I think it had the facilities where we could have had lads in the UFC or Bellator or well, maybe not the UFC, maybe in Bingy, but we definitely could have had lads on Bellator, the Cage Warriors, them sort of things. We were at that. We could have got to that level easy at that gym. It had everything. Do you know what I mean? There was some good coaches there as well.
I think sometimes.
So like Kev Walker was there.
I think sometimes when you say not the UFC, it's not necessarily the facilities and it being a big gym. You've got to have good sparring for them, but it's the relationship with the fighter and knowing the fighter, knowing how they fight and researching who they're going to fight. I think that's the main crux of getting someone there. I don't feel like the facilities are, it's that old Rocky IV thing of whatever, Drago, steroids in the shoulder, on the treadmill, punching these things, and Rocky's just doing fucking pull downs with rocks and climbing mountains. If you're doing the training and you're putting the graft in, when the gym shut here on lockdown, I just said, well, fine, I can still train. I'm still doing 500 press-ups in a day, depending on how many sets I can do it in, and I'll still do, a couple of dumbbells and do this. You can still always train. The facilities don't get me wrong, they help massively. If you don't have a boxing bag and you don't have someone to spar, that's a problem. But, you can, if you've got a good relationship with the fighter, I think that's the main thing that you need. That's the fundamentals of what you need to understand your fighter, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and then get them that clear path to get their confidence, and then let them, sort of tackle some of the bigger issues. I think that's, for me.
I think the big thing as well is that commitment, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because it is tough to get going in this sport, isn't it? Because, like you said, remember you were saying before, you were working a 12-hour day, then trying to fit training into it. Do you know what I mean? And that's at amateur level. Do you know what I mean? So trying to get to and then go to professional, and then how do you do that unless the money's not there for sponsorships as much as it, or something like that, unless you're getting high level stuff. So,
Sean Hammer said to me,
the commitment's got to be there.
Sean Hammer said to me, do you remember Callum Gagan?
Yeah.
I remember thinking he's pretty special. He looked really good on the amateur scene, and what and even when I wasn't going to some of the events, I'd be watching the fights online. And I sort of said to him the other day, and he went, "Well, he's come back to it now because he's just had a family and all that. He's about 25." But you're right. That's life gets in the way sometimes. If you're not making big money off it, you've got to go to work. You've got to do this. You've got to do that, and sometimes passion has to take a back seat.
Yeah, well, that's happened a lot, isn't it? I think it's happened a lot with me, but some lads, where they've, you get to 18, 19, 20, and they're either going to university or you're out with the lads, you're seeing girls, whatever, etc. And they get distracted. And then it's like, training 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week isn't the main priority. And that's the difference. That's the difference between the lads and girls who do move forward and the ones who fail. Do you know what I mean? That is the big difference. You've got to put them hours in. You've got to go to them classes. You can't be moaning, "Oh, I've got to have trained once a day." You've got to train twice a day, because most ones who are succeeding are the ones who are training 2, 3 times a day. They're doing 2 or 3 classes. They're doing strength conditioning stuff. They're doing the runs. They're the ones who are going to win the fights. They're the ones who are doing it. If you don't put that work in, you're not going to get the results. It's as simple. You can have all the talent in the world. If you don't put that work in, you're not going to win nothing.
Yeah.
So, I think that commitment side, and it is tough because, it is hard because lads have got their lives or whatever, and girls, and you're saying to them, well, you need to train. So I always feel like I'm moaning at them a lot, going, you need to train. They're going, "Oh, we're busy." And I'm going, "But you're not busy. What are you doing? What's so busy that you can't train for a couple of hours?"
Well,
annoying at times.
The perfect example is if anyone from your gym's watching here, we just hit the nail on the head. I was training for a fight. I was doing 12 hours a day on some days. And I just said, "You're going to have to get people into Shark Tank me at 6 a.m, because that's the only time I've got." And then I'd go work. I'd go hit the weights and some cardio if I could get it in on my lunch. And then I'd teach at your place. And then I'd train again afterwards. There's always an hour in the day. It's just how hard you're willing to do it. With me, I think I was just exhausting myself, but I was still willing to do it.
Yeah, but that's it. You look at Sean. You had on the other day. Me and you really like Sean. We get on great with him, don't we? And stuff. But you look how his gym's successful, and it is because his lads are training all the time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The ones that are doing really good, Connor and all these lads, they're in the gym. They live in the gym, don't they? Well, that's how they succeed.
He's done well as well. Now, I mean, we didn't really discuss this, but we touched on it in the fact that Connor's now a coach, and he's got a few of them there who were the young lot who are now coaches.
Yeah.
But for some people, if that's their passion, they can see a career progression. If I get good enough at this gym and at Cage Warriors or at Bama or whatever, maybe he'll give me a job coaching here, and then I can make a living off it. And, whether they make $1 million or whatever is another thing, but they can do what they love. And the other thing I know with them is, Sean said it the other day, they all seem to have this background in St. Helens where they love a scrap. And I don't know how many big gyms there are around there really in St. Helens. Sean's got that sort of character that's sort of like happy-go-lucky, but don't fuck with me type attitude.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them respond to him. And I think they've got a good sort of family nature there. I mean, we had it. I'm assuming you still got it. I'm just saying I'm not at the gym anymore. But we had it when we were there, and we had a good group of lads who you could count on every day.
But I think that's it, isn't it? What you just said, it's an area where there's loads. I live in Crosby, you know what I mean? That's where a lot of my lads come from. Yeah. And it isn't it is a more, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, a more affluent area or whatever. So you haven't got that like, I don't know, working class fighting sort of mentality. So it is quite difficult. So, like when you get like a gym, near a town or whatever, or like, Sean's and St. Helens or whatever, you've got a bigger gene pool to get from. Do you know what I mean? And there's a bit more of a fighter's mentality where I struggle around here a little bit because of that. We haven't got that fighter's mentality as much. And we were lucky. we had a small group that were very intense and did want to fight. Do you know what I mean? Like that young Zach, the judo black belt lad, and
He was
Josh.
good. He was on the Olympic team, wasn't he, for the judo?
Man, he was fantastic. I mean, and real grit about him. You know, he was scared to know because he done that grappling competition, and he went up against Dave Faulkner. Dave Faulkner, the BJJ coach at Hammer, I forget his name. Went up against him. That Igor Patuski, remember him, the big, massive Polish lad? No. What's his name?
Igor Polskaris.
Mascaris, that's it. Yeah, him.
Yeah,
He's heavy
as well.
He wasn't fighting. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And he won his weight that he done, and then went in the absolute as well. But he could have made it. That lad. Out of everyone, he was the one I thought was going to make it.
Where is he now?
It really was. I don't think he's doing too good, to be honest. No, I haven't seen him for a while. But he was what? I think he was ranked number 3 in the country, wasn't he? He was in the Olympic team for England and all kinds, wasn't he? He was just crazy good. And wasn't frightened to get stuck in either, was he? Do you know what I mean? So out of all of them, he was the one I thought.
He was a heavy little man for an 18-year-old.
Yeah, strong as anything. Because I remember him. Was it? I don't know if it was. I don't want to disrespect any other fighters, but I think it was Liam Gittins or something he fought on that competition in that grappling comp. It might have been him. If I've got it wrong, I apologise. But he got an armbar on Zach, and Zach just picked him up and held him like he was a rag, nothing. You know, he was a strong lad, and that Liam, if it is Liam, he's a great fighter. Great fighter. But Zach was something special. I really thought he was going to make it, to be honest. Disappointed he didn't, to be honest.
Zach reminded me of not in fighting style, but Gennady Golovkin, because you look at him in a knitted sweater and you can't see him all ripped up. You think, and then you try and, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was massively stronger than him and that, but technically he was just so good for an 18-year-old. But he was, like you say, he was ranked like number 3 in the country judo, and he was just
black belt, everything. Yeah, he was amazing, absolutely amazing. And so you had him, and you had Jason, obviously, who fought on Bama and Cage Warriors. He was a good lad, Jason. You know, he was talented. Do you know what I mean? He had a bit of a spark about him. He was good in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that show in Liverpool, Cage Warriors, he fought on that one. Stoppage by leg kicks. Totally done what we said to do. Fantastic, that.
Yeah.
And then Josh, Josh wasn't frightened of anyone, got stuck in, didn't he? I mean, he fought on Bama. Who did he fight that? The blonde lad from
Clayton, was it?
The gyms in Manchester.
Which card was this?
Yeah, Jake Bond. He fought Jake Bond.
Yeah. But he was like,
it was on Bama when
was he
well, Jake Bond was
older or something?
Yeah, and he was like 7-0 or something. That was Josh's first amateur A fight.
He was like 21, wasn't he, Jake Bond? He was like 21.
Yeah.
And Josh was about
Josh
15.
Was 17. Yeah, something ridiculous. And he took him the full 3 rounds. And to be honest, I thought he won the fight. I mean, I'm biased, obviously, for my fighters, but I thought he won the fight. And Jake's was a top lad, lovely lad, he's dead nice.
And he turned back and said he's a good fighter, yeah.
Yeah, he said that was the toughest fight he'd had. You know, and people had actually thought he'd lost because he was vomiting at the end of the match. Josh came in the next day and trained with me for 2 hours on the Sunday after Bama. That Jake was all cut up and everything, but he's a good fighter as well, Jake. I mean, but for Josh to go in against his caliber, that Jake Bond, and do as well as he did, you know, he only lost on points, you know. But I thought he won it, to be honest. But
to be fair,
the way it goes, isn't it?
I'll say this now, Josh. For me, I mean, I feel like for me, the way he was going, at the rate he was going, he was potentially one of the most technical, sort of stand-up wise fighters we had. I just felt, again, maybe everyone he fought was just not the right time for him. Because where I'm saying technically, I mean, Josh and me formed a bond. I still speak to Josh now, and you keep in mind, I was like a 28-year-old man, and he was about 17 years old, because I was teaching the kids' classes a lot as well as you. I formed a bond with him. I just felt like he was just such a good kid, and he listened, and he had a bit of banter. He had a lot about him common sense wise, and he had a fight IQ. I remember putting him in there with some people who were like adults, and they were like, he's fucking picking me off, and he's like 17, and like, he was not heavy. He was like a fucking stick. I just felt like if he'd have had a better start with the fights, he'd have gone and done something.
Yeah, I think it knocked his confidence, didn't it? His confidence sort of went a little bit with him, and he lost his head a little bit. But
there was a fight where there was no headshots, and he was on the floor, and the lad dropped a punch on the floor, and he turned to us on the corner and went, he's hitting me, and he looked at the referee, and I was like, don't look at us, just fucking hit him back. And I felt like maybe we'd put him in mentally too early, because looking at his technique, his technical ability was fine. But if that was me in a fight, I'd have just gone, you fucking hit me, bang, shut the fuck up, I'll hit you back. But he was about 14, 15, and it wasn't that he didn't have it. It wasn't that he didn't have that aggression. It was just he went in with an understanding. And at that age, I think he was sort of, you know, it was a new situation. I think that was his first fight, wasn't it? I felt that knocked his confidence a bit. And it still plagues me to this day, that, you know, because I just feel like he was such a good fucking talent. I just felt like he didn't get to show the talent that he had.
I think that's it. I think when I look back, like, I think, you know, there's a lot of regrets, like, with it. You know, there was loads of good times and loads of fun.
Oh, mate, I've got
we achieved
loads of,
I mean,
loads of happy
we achieved
times.
more than what we should have ever achieved. Do you know what I mean? And that was just our, like, I don't know, our actual spirit or our mindset that we pushed through all the time. But I know we achieved big. We were you know, do more what we should have, easily done more than we should have.
The success to loss ratio's up. I think it was just the way the conversation went that I went to that. I wasn't putting it down on it.
No. I think as well, what we were doing as well is, because we were like new at it and stuff like that. You know what the fight games like. You don't exactly get the rub of the green when you're fighting fights, because we want to take the fights, because we want to get our name out there and we want our lads to fight, and I want to fight and stuff. So we were taking fights against lads who were having 4 and 5 fights already in this too. They were having like Jake, that Bama fight against Josh. Jake's on his 7th fight. Do you know what I mean? He's 4 years older than Josh, and we take the fight because it's Bama, and it's an opportunity for Josh to fight on Bama on a show where Paul Daly's headlining it. So what are we going to do? We're going to say no.
I remember looking at some of the fight stuff. And I remember speaking to Josh and just saying it's a potential risk, because just pure testosterone in his body is going to be naturally stronger. But at the same time, you know, I felt like Josh could have done something, and the fight was very close, like you say. Could have gone either way.
Yeah, it was. He put up such a performance that night. I mean, it was one of the best performances I've seen. It was ridiculously good. Do you know, considering how good Jake is, because Jake's anyone who's watching this who knows Jake Bond will know what a good fighter he is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for Josh to do what he did against him was something special, considering the age gap, considering the experience gap. It was quite phenomenal, to be honest. So it was a good moment, but again, a lot of like disappointment as well.
He was another lad as well. You know, where you say sometimes you moan at people. Josh used to message me and say, can you open the gym? And I go, yeah, I've got the keys there, just let me sort this out. And I'd go down there and he'd be like, you know, fucking, let's just hit the pads for an hour, let's just do this, just run through some slipping drills, or just wanted to just train. And sometimes it'd just be like the gym would be closed because like it wouldn't be opening hours, and it'd be me and Josh in there. And I have to say he was a good lad to have around the gym. Can't speak highly enough of him.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was
Same
like
with
a
all the
lot
other
of
lads, to be fair, Sean, Jason and all that, all the younger lads, they were great, and all the older lads as well.
Well, I think there was a lot of like competition between him and Jason, wasn't there? Because they were the two like top boys, weren't they? I suppose at that age group.
At that age group, yeah, like
So,
the two 15-year-olds, weren't they? That were like sort of pushing for who can make it.
Who's top dog, like, but
Jason was a lovely lad.
But and talented as well, really.
Oh yeah,
he was an athlete. He wasn't as technically as good as Josh. Josh was technically better.
He is hard.
Jason was an athlete. He was just an athlete, a complete athlete. And like I say, he got a win on Cage Warriors, so you can't knock that, can you? So really good. But I think the biggest disappointment, like and I know this is like me being biased, but the best fighter in there was Arjo. He was above all of them.
He had a period where he just came on leaps and bounds, because you were sending him up to Cabon to do the wrestling, weren't you?
Yeah, with Adam, and he was with in Wigan.
So he was under Mick Grundy and stuff like that, wasn't he?
Yeah, up in Wigan, and then he went to Cabon in where is it, Kenny or whatever it is. He was going there with Adam as well, like, so he was, I don't know, he's head and shoulders above them all. Do you know what I mean? So
Joe,
even like Chris, who's
the reason I didn't bring him up was really good. The reason I didn't bring him up was he was literally, when this period I'm talking about, I mean, when I started, he was about 12, 13.
Yeah.
So these lads were slightly older.
He's been training since he was 9. Do you know what I mean? So he was training with all the lads, because he used to come in when you were training. Like, he'd roll with all of us, wouldn't he? You know what I mean? So he's like 9, 10, 11. It's crazy. Like, but they were a little bit older than Joe. But
funny lad, Joe.
He's definitely he's pretty good. His wrestling's like sick. Like, he's absolutely unbelievable wrestler. Like, so. But I'd love to see him fight. Do you know what I mean? He's and ahhing all the time about it, but he's at uni now, isn't he? So, but
he's still young,
mate. He's 21. He never does.
Well, I tell you what, let's get on some. We've got like 10, 15, 20 minutes left. Let's do some UFC boxing talk, because we've reminisced for a while now.
Oh, yes, indeed.
So go on. Looking at the the UFC at the minute, and me and you, I'll have this conversation with you, because you're like me, you're old school, or more old school than some of the younger people who are getting into it nowadays, your Conor McGregor generation type thing. So we remember the old sort of UFC ones and that, and we're not having to watch them on fight catalogs because we've seen them back in the day and that. I mean, I was thinking before, and I want to see what you think of it. Do you think it would be where it'd be if Dana White wasn't who he was and where he was? In terms of a personality, and a businessman.
I mean, you can love him or hate him, can't you? But at the end of the day, the business wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for him, was it? You've got to be honest about it. I mean, he is, sometimes you hear stuff, and you don't know whether it's true or not, because you always hear people saying this, that, and the other. And, I tend to not get involved in anything. This one said that about this one or whatever, but you hear all kinds of horror stories about him, and he's nasty and he's this and that. But at the end of the day, he knows how to run a promotion, doesn't he? It's the biggest promotion in the world.
Do you agree with the thing that he pays them less but keeps them hungry, and therefore the very, very top get paid well, compared to boxing where people dodge each other?
Me personally, I mean, I think they should be all getting paid mega money to get in there and do what they do. I mean, you look at some of them, you see the purses, what they're getting, and some people are getting like 20 grand fighting on the UFC. Something that's ridiculous. And then you hear whether, I don't know whether it's true or not, but then you've got all their expenses to do with that, flights, what have you, and then all of a sudden you're coming out with a few grand for like fighting on the UFC. And I just think, considering how much money they make, it should be shared out a little bit more. But it is what it is, isn't it? Your Conor McGregors are getting 100 million for fighting, and someone on the undercard's getting 20 grand.
Yeah, I mean,
we're all taking the same risk, aren't we?
if they allowed them to keep the sponsorship, maybe that'd be a different story. People could afford it more. When Reebok came in, they stopped that, didn't they?
Yeah.
But
yeah, and then it goes on your fight performances and all that, isn't it?
yeah,
You know,
that's
and
what I
how
was
many
going to
wins
say. The
you've
fight
got.
performance style,
So
it makes for more entertaining fights, I think. But again, is
yeah,
it because Alec Kinter, he turned around and said, I just can't afford to fight on what they're paying me. But at
but
the
that's
end
it.
of
And then when you get that, then where you're going to get into that where you got like either, you know, a Rocky type story where you got like Alec Quinter or whatever, you know, comes up and just fights a champion or something and maybe wins. Do you know what I mean? That's great. But then you're going to probably get a lot of mismatches because you're going to get lads who just want to have them fights. Same situations we were in. We just want to have that fight because they want to make the name. They want to get up there. Do you know what I mean? And maybe fighting a little bit too soon. You know, you got lads fighting for titles before they should be really. And you know, I don't know. It's a business, isn't it? It's just a business. You know, I think he makes sure that the money's there first, isn't it? That's what's important.
yeah,
You know,
I do
I think
like
he genuinely likes the fight.
Yeah, I do like him as a personality. Definitely do. I mean, he always defends his position on the business standards, and he always comes out with what on the surface sounds like sound arguments. But then you hear from the fighters some stories that they're in agreement. Was it Darren Till who said that they just walked up and handed them 80 grand in cash or something after a fight because it mightn't be him. I seen an interview with someone and they went, oh, he just walked up and gave me like 80 grand or something or 50 grand in a cash or a check and just went, you did well tonight, you weren't fight of the night, but there you go. So people get extra bonuses and stuff if they're doing well, but if you're some no-name who's just like danced around the cage, then not necessarily. So there are stories that it's not the case, and then there are stories that it is. You know,
yeah, you wouldn't know, would you, unless you actually live in it? You know what I mean? But I mean, I think he does like a good scrap, doesn't he? You know, and he definitely rewards fighters for that. You know, he's definitely, you know, just the showman styles. You know, McGregor's. You know, he wants them. John Jones. He loves them, doesn't he? Because they bring the money in, don't they? So he's obviously going to pay them well. Like so, you know, he's got to keep them sweet. So, but I don't know. I think it's just a little bit rougher for the ones starting off. You know, I suppose it's like that with anything, isn't it? You know, no one's going to pay you straight away £1 million for fighting, are they? You got to earn.
It draws good comparisons. Not good comparisons, but it shows a better sort of run business style than the boxing in some degree. Because you got your MTK. I'm not fully up on the story. The Mac the Knife management agency where they've got, is it the Kinahan fella? They've got ties to Irish mob or something. I believe he said that he's nothing to do with it now, and it's passed hands on to former boxers. But then you've got your Don Kings, and Don King, man. I mean, you'd obviously hate him for what he does to the fighters. Like he was robbing money off Mike Tyson and that. But I always remember the story. I read it. I don't know what book I read it in. John Mugabe. Do you remember him? The big, huge fucking African fella who used to knock. Yeah. Mickey Duff, who was
was he the Beast or something?
The Beast.
John the Beast Mugabe.
So Mickey Duff was telling the story. The guy who had John Mugabe over in the UK was managing him in London, and he said, so he sent him over to like Vegas or Atlantic City or wherever it was he was fighting, and he goes, oh yeah, so I've got to go back on business or whatnot. I can't be there for the fight, so I'll go back. And he's been pestering Don King up until this point, saying he's a beast. He's going to be a champion one day. You need to watch out for John Mugabe. And Don King's like, yeah, whatever. Everybody tells me about that every fighter. Fuck off. And then next thing he gets a call from one of the guys he's got working for him saying, yeah, he didn't just knock him out. He like bingoed him out. And he either knocked the ref out or he hit him out the ring. No, he hit him out the ring. I've seen it. Yeah. With the ref. And then next thing he goes, Don King's here to speak to you. So Don King's on the phone going, oh yeah, fucking Mickey. Yeah, so he's great. And he's just stopped me after the fight and said, Don, I want to come and work for your promotions, you know, but don't worry, Mickey, I've got you in mind. I've said to him, well, we'll have to go 50-50, me and Mickey. And Mickey Duff just went and said, done. I went, that's fucking fantastic. I didn't know you spoke Swahili, because he doesn't speak a word of fucking English. But that character in boxing, just like, he just thinks I'm going to blag his head. I'm going to get 50% of this fight.
Yeah,
He's going to be champion after blowing him off. And he doesn't even speak fucking English. He went, I didn't know you spoke Swahili, Don. You can fuck off. But I love that type of character in the game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just...
I think I was watching it. I think it's not the same anymore as much, is it? I think Tyson Fury's bringing it back a little bit, like, but there just doesn't seem to be the characters anymore, does there? I mean, it's like, I watched a lot of the middleweights. I've been watching a lot of stuff, you know, the Eubank interviews and Nigel Benn interviews and all that. And like
that
do that one
on Sky, don't
like,
the classics. You talk about the classic discussions we do on Sky.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, you know, you had like Nigel Benn, Henry Horton, Steve Collins, obviously Eubank, Michael Watson, unfortunately, you know, poor bugger. You know, there was a lot of them fighters at that time. Yeah, you know, big fighters and big shows, big fights all the time. And I don't know, it's just not, it doesn't seem to be there as much at the moment, does it? I know obviously with lockdown it's a bit different, but it just doesn't seem. I don't sort of watch the boxing as much now, to be honest. I'm not really into it as much. You know,
I think there's storylines there. We did a 2-part podcast, which I'm going to put on probably simultaneously to this. I've just got other stuff going on, so I'm a bit slow uploading everything. But we did it on the Ben Askren Jake Paul fight, and to be honest with you, me and Miles were talking, and I watched it back last night, and I look like a prick because I'm saying bullshit. He's not going to do this, you dickhead type thing. And Miles is the loveliest, sweetest lad ever, and I apologise again. I have to keep apologising to him because I'm a dick. But I get passionate about it. I don't think that Jake Paul's too bad for what he's doing, but they've got those sort of narratives that attract the younger generation. And I think for me and you, we're used to the older thing. I even said to him, I was born in the 80s. I was used to Roberto Duran grabbing his crotch and telling Leonard, you know, and Mike Tyson saying, I'm going to fuck you to death and all this shit. I was used to watching that. And I said to him, the only time I remember it being that type of entertainment was watching McGregor Aldo.
Yeah.
That it felt like crazy, the excitement again. I felt that at that time, and you can say what you want about McGregor. You know, you've got your Khabibas and your fucking McNuggets and whatever they want to call it on YouTube. I just want to watch a good scrap. I don't give a shit. They're both box fighters. You know, if you think that McGregor's not a good fighter, you're a fucking bellend, as far as I'm concerned.
He's very talented, obviously, isn't he? How do you think that Askren fight's going to go? Do you think he's going to do all right, or?
Yeah, I do, mate. I think he's going to win. I think I said it'll probably go to decision. You see, this was the topic of discussion. See, Miles he's massively into YouTube. Obviously, we're doing YouTube now. But he's watching all the YouTubers, obviously sticking up for the YouTubers, which I understand. And they've got some good points. The footage that Ben Askren's released doesn't look good, but he's released another one today where he's doing 1-2. And I just said to him, he's a veteran. He's been around the block. And the same thing.
He's taking the piss.
It's his Rocky moment for Jake Paul. If Ben Askren thinks his kid's more powerful, I'll put this footage out, let him think it's easy. He'll do one less run, one less round in sparring, and it'll just make it a little bit easier for me on the night. Again, I don't think he's that bad. I've seen him stand up in a couple of fights like the Maya fight and that. He's got head movements. His lateral movement's not great. He's got a lot of feints because you know as well with the wrestling, your hands are always up to raise them. So you're going for the underhooks or you're going for the leg. So he's naturally going in with feints all the time. So it shouldn't be too hard to transition to just straight stand up with the feints, to drawing his hands out, pick away at him and stuff like that. I feel like he's going to have to rely on volume rather than power necessarily. He's going to be in bigger gloves than he's used to, and all his TKOs seem to be on the ground. But I just don't see. When I seen him stand up, it looked to me like that sort of, he's got his hand out, his guard up, and he's always taking that retreat back and resetting. I feel like if he learns to circle out a little bit, he should just dance around them, go to Jake Paul's body. The only thing I pointed out to Miles was with that wrestling stance, he goes from orthodox to southpaw. I feel he goes a bit square at certain points.
Yeah.
And if Jake Paul's clever enough and he times it, he goes straight to the body. Because it doesn't matter if he's got that tight stance. As soon as he goes square, it's like the Dutch kickboxers over him. When you see Travis Brown do that big front kick through the middle, he's been hit a couple of times down the middle. There's a couple of Dutch Thai boxers, they go in quite square and they get hit down the middle quite easily. Don't get me wrong, they're fucking badasses, but I just feel like it's a fucking travesty if he loses. So I don't know, maybe I'm
like, because he's a bit nuts. He's a bit nuts, isn't he? Like asking, he's always a bit crazy. Like I just think I wonder if he like double leg him or something as well, just for a fucking laugh. I think just shoot in, fucking pick him up and smash him. I'd fucking laugh my head off if he does that. I think he will. I think he'll do something for a laugh. Just put him on his ass.
12 sixes.
He's not going to fight boxing again, is he? So it's his opportunity to fucking do something crazy. I don't know. I think he might do something fucking mental. Do you know what I mean? Just for a laugh. Just pick him up and fucking. Isn't he worth the money just for that?
I do think though that Jake Paul's got composure. I said this to Miles again. I don't want to repeat something that's going to be out on a different podcast, but he's canny as fuck was the phrase I used when I watched it back, and I repeated canny as fuck about 15 times. I was mortified, but it was. He's picked out two guys who are smaller than him. Neither of them, I believe the Gibb fella has had some sort of background, according to Miles. I've not watched it. I just watched the Jake Paul fights with him and Nate Robertson. And the other guy apparently had no sparring. The second fight, did you see it?
Yeah, it was he was like
American football tackles. And
something like that, wasn't he?
I just felt like, he did make a good decision to go on the back foot and then drop that bomb. I felt like in the first fight, he used his jab a little bit. He was changing levels. He was composed. He showed a little bit of fight IQ. But when I felt like it came to the big punches, I couldn't make my mind up whether he just saw that this guy was vulnerable and he threw big straight rights, big overhands, and a couple of hooks. But I just feel like put a couple of punches together, throw a combination to build up that big punch, show your technique. But maybe he just saw blood. If he's not capable of putting a couple of punches together, you don't think Ben Askren's is going to use that post and retreat and just step back?
Yeah. He doesn't look that great. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's only having a couple of fights, so he's not going to be great. But I think he's promoting himself fantastically, isn't he? Because he's getting these big fights and making big money. So he's doing something right, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? But I think he's obviously. He's doing it. I would like to see him going against someone a little bit more tasty. He was calling out that Tyson Fury's brother the other week. Did you see that?
Yeah. Tommy Fury.
Did you see his fight? Yeah, did you see his fight? He looked all right. He looks like
he's on 7 or 8 now, isn't he?
He looks all right. He looks a good little fighter, so. But if he went in against him, I think he'd struggle. I think he'd struggle against someone like him.
Well, I made that point yesterday. You see, Miles's arguments, which I can agree with, he's knocking everyone out in the sparring. But is that making him a better fighter?
Yeah,
He's not under pressure, is he? Then he's got bums in there,
no.
but apparently he's got like a top team. But
Yeah, but I
if
do
it's
think
such
like
a top team, how's this kid of 3 years knocking them all out?
But then he's picking his fights as well because he's fighting Askren, isn't he? Who's not a boxer. Do you know what I mean? It's like the situation with McGregor versus Mayweather, wasn't it? I mean, obviously, there's no way in the world Mayweather's going to fight McGregor at MMA, is he? Do you know what I mean? Because he'd just get smashed to fucking bits, wouldn't he? Do you know what I mean? So he's picking his fights. You know what I mean? And good on him because he's making money out of it, isn't he? And everyone's going to buy tickets. So
makes sense.
He's doing the right thing. But I just, because I know myself, I wouldn't box against a boxer because when me and you used to just hands, I get battered. Do you know what I mean? I hate it. I didn't like fighting boxing because it's not my style. Do you know what I mean? So I struggle with boxing. I do
like
it out of
chess
I've got to do it.
But that's why I like the ground as well. The ground was like chess. You roll into something, you think you've got something, then they put something on you. You've got to find the escape. If that doesn't work, if they're trying to escape, then roll from that armbar. I love that chess element of it. The same with the wrestling.
Yeah.
Because the wrestling I broke down into subroutines, just like you're throwing up to the head, you're shooting under, you're under there, you're pivoting out. You got to put your elbow up there to pop them and then head under. I just found that fascinating that you just break it down into subroutines. You practice, repeat, and then it's just this one move that you could just flash someone with, and then next thing they put you in your hand, you're on their back, and they're in turtle. I could choke them, but I'm just going to smash the back of their fucking head in instead. And that, unfortunately, is what appeals to me.
Yeah, suit your mentality. That's it. I love that. I mean, I like the grappling. Obviously, that's I do like that side. So I'm not just stand up all the way. It's just I do like the grappling as well. But I do like that like it's funny when you do it because you see the levels, don't you? Because when I'm like training with lads who are obviously not as experienced, you're 10 steps ahead of them. Do you know what I mean? But then I always remember when I went to the Paul Rimmer.
Yeah.
Next gen, the head coach. I mean, I got some privates with him for my birthday or something. It was when I was like 38 or something, or 37. And you look at him, and no disrespect to Paul, he doesn't look like a big tough fighter. Or I mean, I don't think I look like a fighter.
Nails,
you do, like, but I don't. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like you look at him and you're thinking that because I went in there and I've got no ego. You know me, I've no ego whatsoever. But I looked at him and thought, I'll give him a bit of a go here. I'm strong and fit, and I'll give him a go. Fuck me, turn me into a pretzel. Do you know what I mean? He was just fucking me over. It's just ridiculous. When I was thinking I was going to get him with somebody, he's like a Jedi. He just had me all over the place.
Yeah,
but
I've had the same thing.
Different levels.
I've got my mate Peter. He used to box with a fella Steve Burke out of Neverton ABC, and I'd been training in the gym and that, running up to a fight. And I said to Peter, come in, mate. I need to do some stand-up, even if you just throw the pads with us and that. And I was literally, remember when I was looking like a six-pack at like 18 and a half stone? Do you remember that sort of period where I trimmed up? I'd got rid of that belly and I trimmed up. And Peter was going, I was one of them. I was wearing the rash guard and no t-shirt on top because I was just like, look at Mr. Muscle, like a dickhead. And
no
Peter
pants for some reason. Why was that?
Because I just fucking thought I was a fucking or something. I don't know. I was a dickhead.
I hated the north-south. The north-south in that position was awful.
Yeah.
Get your dick out of my face.
Why is it?
But go on, sorry.
No, but he come in, and Peter's like, he's a big guy. I mean, he come over to see me in Gran Canaria, and one of the guys I know who's like every man he's big him, but he's also got a belly on him. But people sleep on Peter with that maybe. Well, they don't when they know his personality because he's aggressive as fuck. But Peter put me on the pads and he just pressured me, and I'm about 6 weeks into a fucking fight camp, and like about the fourth round, the fucking pads with him. Keep in mind, I was doing 10-round shark tanks with the wrestling like a day before, and I didn't even lose breath. And with the fucking pads, this guy you'd look at and think, not necessarily, you wouldn't think he was soft, but you wouldn't think, he was some amazing boxer. He had me throwing up outside. And I'm not ashamed to
Yeah.
say it, like the fucker did it. But it's the same thing with Paul
I think
Rinner.
that's the thing, isn't it? Well, I think that's the thing when you go to like you know, boxing shows. Those, and this, you know, again, you know, shoot me down, like, but there always seems to be a little bit more trouble at boxing shows. But you know, with the crowd. But at MMA shows, there doesn't seem to be any trouble there, because I think everyone's worried that, you know, it could be some, like, you know, I mean, look, yeah, I'll throw a name out. You know, Kev Corkle. He's like, you know, quite slim. You know, looks just a dead quiet looking lad, and the fella can mix you up something ruthless on the floor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just don't know who's doing what. Do you know what I mean? It's always like, so I think at them shows, not never happens, or I've never seen anything really.
I think as
Just,
well,
yeah,
you, especially on the local sort of UK scene, everyone's come with their gin. Everyone's come.
yeah,
And the boxing, you tend to get like a footy hooligan type crowd. I might be wrong saying that. I've been to a few boxing shows that are like, you know, professional. But I always felt like, yeah, I had the people on the Stellars and they'd done 4 lines in the bog and they were just fucking wired to fuck wild. I mean, I felt like when you went to the MMA, don't get me wrong, I bevied at a few of the MMA events because I like a bevy sometimes, back then especially. But I didn't feel like everyone was. I felt like a lot of people just came just to sit and study the sport and just like...
Yeah.
And they were, a lot of people, if they weren't cornering, they're from the same gym. It was a very close community. Whereas the boxing, it's like a night out. That's how I felt, but I could be wrong. Some of the biggest shows,
it is
not
that.
necessarily.
But it was like, I like, because obviously we've been to a lot of shows, you know, and I've been to hundreds, like, do you know what I mean? And I like that, because I see everyone, you know, and you know, I mightn't be the most well known, but you know, I know everyone and I say hello to everyone, and you know, I like all that. I like that, like
community,
that, like, closeness. You know, you see people you haven't seen, but they're like, you're dead friendly with them, and I like that close knit. It is like a little community, isn't it? You know, everyone, like Sean. You know, we've known Sean for years. Do you know what I mean? He ask advice off Sean. You know, he's always well. You know, he'll always throw you someone like Ross. I know you've got Ross on. I love Ross. You know, Ross is, you know, as far as I'm concerned, he's my coach. Do you know what I mean? Ross is my coach.
Ross
you know,
did a very heartfelt podcast. It was actually a complete contrast to the one that I did. I mean, apart from the fact that I did Ross's first, the only reason Sean's went on before his was because it was a larger file on my computer. We went about an hour and a half, I think, which we're on now.
Yeah.
And I've just got to work around the kids at the minute, man. I'm not the most technical. So Ross's is going on tonight after I've finished this. But Ross gave like a complete contrast. Sean's like bantered this, that, and the other. He'll tell you stories. Ross was really honest and just sort of, he didn't shy away from any like sort of talk of, you know, the Bisping fight and stuff like that. A lot of respect for Ross, and he's one of the gentlemen in the sport, like, definitely.
Yeah, no, I love Ross. I absolutely love him to bits, like, so. But you know, I need to go down and see him, like, he's got his gym, hasn't he, in Stoke, so we need to maybe go down and see him as soon as this lockdown's over, you know, get to see him again. Just can't wait for that. Get
He
back
said
to
he's
normal.
they're doing a Mortal Kombat movie, which is getting released on YouTube, and he's got a part in that. He's choreographing one of the fight scenes, he said.
Yeah, he's done a few movies though, hasn't he? I've seen a few things like that.
He was, do you remember Mitty
and that?
That's his coach in that.
Yeah.
And I was watching his show reel. He's done like scenes with air and stuff.
That's boss, isn't it?
Doing well, good for him.
Yeah, he's sound. He's a boss fella, Ross. He is really good. Miss training with him, like, it was tough, like, tough training with Ross, like.
Yeah.
He'd
I don't want to repeat myself. I don't want to repeat myself, but I even said to Ross, I just remember when he used to do that, and he'd go, right, put your arm up, and your partner would just do like 10 fucking Thai kicks into your side, and you just take it in the ribs, and it was Ross's idea of toughening you up and just getting the bitch out of you.
Yeah.
And he went, no one really wanted to do it with me, because we just had like middleweights at best in, and Ross had to do it with me. And he went, right, I'll do it. threw about 10 on that side, and I was like, Jesus Christ, Ross kicks like a fucking hench. Did that side.
Yeah.
And then I went, right, go on, Ross. And he went, no, I'm teaching. I'm not getting kicked by you. Fuck off. And walked off. I said, fucking sound, you just destroyed me side. Fucking guy off the
He's done that to me, kicked me in the ribs. Yeah, he's done that to me, kicked me. Fuck me, okay. Do you know what? Who surprised me with his kicks? And it's, again, no disrespect. You know Dave Faulkner?
Yeah.
Did you know who's thinking Dave as a wrestler and all this? He come to Warrior when we had it down Myers. And he just wants to come and do a bit of training and that sort of sound. I was holding the pads for him and that. Fuck me, he can kick hard. I couldn't believe how hard he kicks.
Sean
And high as well, because he's not that tall, is he?
Sean said the same thing on Sunday.
Ridiculous.
You know what?
Ridiculous.
I don't know if he's game, Dave, but I'd love to have him on here. I'd love to.
Yeah, I reckon he would, you know. Ask him to do it.
I just love talking to Dave. He's just nuts. He's off his fucking head.
He's nuts. He's crazy as fuck. He is. He's absolutely crazy. And he come down, I was rolling with him and everything. Boss when he come. And then, but it was the, you know what to expect of Dave with his wrestling and all that. He's different classes, and but it was his kicks that surprised me. His kicks were phenomenal. I mean, literally head height and like the power, like even through the pads, feeling every one. I was like, you bring me fucking arm here. Do you know what I mean? It's just like.
Do you remember me and you just went? We didn't have anyone fighting, but we went to Dome MMA in the Barcelona bar in Liverpool. And we were sat there and Dave was the main event. And you could tell it was like he was going to start work on the doors in half an hour. He walked out.
Yeah.
And as soon as he got in there, he didn't even look at anyone or anything. He just walked back out again because he just finished the fight in like 2 seconds. And I was just thinking, the fucking man, lad, he didn't give a shit. Walked in, walked out. And then he went down Matthew's street and started working on the Cabin Club. I don't know that.
Do you remember that night? Do you remember that night? We watched that fight, and I can't even remember his name, so I won't say it.
Mad Dog.
But like,
is that you talking about?
And he fought at like fucking lightweight or something on the amateur, and then next minute he went.
So he fought.
I'm fighting a heavyweight or something, or light heavy.
It was
light heavyweight, wasn't it?
It was Teddy Hayburn he fought.
Teddy Hayburn, yeah.
He's heavyweight, I think.
He's a monster. Yeah. He's a monster, Teddy. Teddy's massive.
He threw him in the air.
It was like, Teddy came out his own and then he said, and Mickey Mad Dog and me, and you looked at each other and went, another fucking Mickey Mad Dog. And then he came out. Fucking Teddy lifted him up, threw him on the floor, fucking elbowed him about 5 times, and the fight was over. And me and you were crying.
That was the second fight of the night. So for the audience.
That's it. He fought at lightweight, right? As an amateur, right? You know. And then fought Teddy Hayburn a fucking light heavyweight. But a professional, I mean, we just, oh my God, the tears. It was so funny. I know we'd had a drink in that, but fuck me, it was funny as fuck that. So just the size difference, it was just like,
so
it was ridiculous. It was like a child against an adult. It was fucking ridiculous.
But for the viewers, Mickey Mad Dog is basically a fucking legend, an absolute legend. I don't know if he just likes money or he just likes a scrap.
Yeah.
Go to any MMA event, or at the time we're talking about around the Northwest, he would be fighting. But this particular
he fights all the time.
There was a kid who was actually quite good for me in Hannaford's gym in Bootle, with the bald guy won it. So we're sat there, and it's like second fight into the night. He fights Mickey Mad Dog, and it goes like 2 or 3 rounds, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then we watch like 2, 3 other fights. Mickey Mad Dog's lost, and then he comes back out, and he's just fucking fighting a heavyweight next. He's gone from like lightweight to light heavy, and he just goes in.
It was crazy.
And I can't remember the fight exactly because I was laughing so hard. But Teddy Hayburn picked him up at one point and just sort of, it was like Hulk Hogan. And I just...
He just picked him up.
Laughing.
Honest to God, I remember it like it was yesterday. Picked him up, smashed him on the floor, and then just fucking elbowed him about 5 times in the head. It was over. I mean, you were just like, look.
The icing on the fucking cake was, though, I see, like 10, 15 minutes after that fight, Mickey Mad Dog with what looked like 300 quid in his hand just walk into the bar going, yes, thank you very much. I'm just taking fights. And fucking legends. I've seen him on about 20 different events, and I've only been to 20.
Yeah. He must have had about 100 fights.
But,
oh man, it's fucking crazy. There's a few lads like that, isn't there? But yeah, he was funny. He was really funny. That.
You know what the problem is for Mickey? His record's not great, but he came and trained a couple of times. He's technically really good. I just don't know what happens, that he's just like going in there and getting done it or what? Because his record doesn't reflect what he's capable of.
Do you know another one who's obviously a little bit more talented than Mickey is Reece Street. Now Reece fights on all the shows, and I know that lad, he gives it a good go as well. He doesn't just like, just lie there. He gets stuck in. His stand-up's not that bad. I've seen him knock a couple of lads out. He can hit, but unfortunately he just hasn't got a ground game. So take him down and fight's over. You know what I mean? But he's another one. Like, he'll fight anyone and he'll have a go. Like, he gives it a good go. Like, but remember Mickey Mad Dog fought out of the Ki lad. What's his name? Oh God, he was on that Dome show as well. Steve Hunter. Yeah, remember he fought Mickey Mad Dog. Remember?
That was in the Barcelona.
And that was good.
Steve Hunter was a good
fight. And that was technically dead good. I remember him hitting me and nearly knocking me out. Yeah, sparked me full face, right in the face. All I saw was stars. What's that?
He's tiny as well, isn't he?
Yeah, but he can hit. He can bang like.
The scary thing is that he can do that to someone so big, and he's tiny.
Yeah.
He's got a dig on him.
Yeah, he was. He had good time and good hands, and he just came over the top and caught me like, and felt that like. But I just remember that because Mickey was saying he was going to kill Steve and all this, and he was going to smash him and everything. It's just like, but good days, them though. Good days. Good days. I can't wait to get to a show again though. Yeah.
He's going to turn up at me gaff. If he does, I'll put him on the podcast.
Might come round to mine. Fucking hell.
You know what though? He's a dead nice guy. Dead good laugh as well.
Yeah, he was sound. He was good fun. Good fun. That's the thing. Everyone I've met, I've been dead lucky. Everyone's been dead nice. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? One or two, I'd say, but everyone. I mean, I'll tell you a funny story. What's his name? When we were on that Bama show, what's the London fella? One Punch. What's his name? Bloody hell, can't think of his name. Fought in the UFC tons and tons of times. Used to wear the little hat. Brad Pickett.
Oh, Brad Pickett. Yeah, he wears like the fedora, doesn't he?
Yeah. He was at Bama, when we went with James and Josh and that. And we were back, I was backstage. And Brad Pickett was talking to someone, but I didn't know it was him. And I was trying to get past and he was in my way. So as I was trying to get round him, he just fucking knocked into me. And I was just about to turn around and go, you fucking prick, what the fuck are you doing like that? And then I realised it was him. I just instantly shut me gob.
One punch.
But I'm going to get knocked out here. So, I laughed at him and I said, I was going to tell him to fuck off then and get out of my way till I realised it was you. And then he was talking to me. And do you know what? He was talking to me for about 40 minutes. Giving me loads of advice, asking me to come down and have fighters on his show and everything. One of the nicest fellas I've ever met. And I got a picture of him with him at the gym, at the show and everything. He was sound, absolutely brilliant. Been dead lucky meeting people like that, everyone's been absolutely fantastic. Couldn't fault anyone. And who we had? Chris Fishgold came to the gym recently and done a little thing for us. He was sound. And Terry Eccles comes to the gym quite a lot he used to, because my mate does privates. He does privates with me, and he's best mates with Terry. And they're down at the gym and that, and he's just a dead sound lad, dead down to earth, just sits there,
I think Marcus knows Terry very well.
Yeah.
I met Terry
just dead sound, just
I don't know whether he remember me.
Yeah, he used to live just round from Warrior, but he's moved to somewhere else, Columbia, I think. But he used to come quite a lot, just sit there and watch us do training and that. Dead sound lad. I've been dead lucky with that. Meet everyone. Just so nice.
Tony Duffy, who we mentioned before, said to me the most ego-destroying experience of his grappling and rolling career was, what was the big hangout in Speak?
Oh yeah, was that Lee Chadwick's place?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
One?
he said Terry Etten
Yeah.
was there, and he said he got to roll with him, and he just said they were 3-minute rounds, and he only got one 3-minute round, and he said Terry Etten must have tapped him about 7 or 8 times in that 3-minute round,
Yeah.
and he said
I think that's
he was like, oh, we put that on tight, oh, and then he said he turned around and Terry Etten was just stood ready, and he just said, when you realise the level that Terry Etten was at, he said he was.
But that's if you look at his record as well, you think because he's Muay Thai and all that, he was like and good knockouts and all that. But he got like 3 or 4 submissions of the night or something, didn't he? Or 2 or 3. No, in the UFC, he got some good wins. Really good. Do you know what I mean? Talented lad.
And you know what?
Talented.
It's not just us talking about it because he's a local lad. In Gran Canaria, I was in a charity shop because we just moved into a place and we hadn't got the internet yet. So I didn't have all the streaming. So I thought, I'm not watching my phone all the time. I went in the charity shop and I just picked up a load of DVDs to throw in the PlayStation. And then I picked up 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12 on the UFC, the highlights of the year. And around that period, he's on about 5 of the DVDs as up and coming great. So it's not just us talking about it because he's a local lad. In the eyes of the UFC,
no, he deserved it, didn't he? He was up there, man. He was good.
Yeah, he was
really good. And like I say, when I met him at the gym, just lovely, dead nice fella, dead down to earth. Really nice. But it's sound, isn't it? Everyone's just so good. Everyone's dead nice. Do you know what I mean? Really nice. Met some really boss people. But I've been dead lucky with it, to be honest. They're
nice until that cage door shuts, though, aren't they? And then you're fucked.
Yeah, that's the problem. Well, they're just crushing you or something, or crushing your windpipe. Yeah, then it's not so good. But I always remember that, me and you having a grapple, quick one. And I was doing all right, I always felt like I held my own a little bit. I was strong, do you know what I mean? So I could match it a little bit, even though you were a lot bigger than me. But I remember one time you just lay on me, and I tapped out because you lay on me. I was like,
I was tired.
Couldn't even move.
I was tired.
Wait, I was like, fucking fuck this.
Just lie down, you're 18 stone, I thought.
Oh, fuck that. It was right on my rib cage and everything. I just, honest to God, nearly shit alone. It was just so bad. I thought, I'm out. Tap out. Tapped out to lay on.
Yeah. I do.
Good days.
I'll be honest, I do miss that. I do miss that. Getting the time now. I've been doing a bit of boxing and stuff like that because you can go in and just pick that up. I feel like if I went into MMA, I've got to just be on it. Because come the spot, I'm one who's not satisfied in sparring if I'm not holding my own. And you can't, with boxing, you can go in and you can sort of get away with it to a degree. If you're going in with someone who's good at boxing, you've got to be there. But in the MMA, I mean, I won't mention the name, but do you remember the lad who was a big sort of bodybuilder? Lovely guy and doing really well. But it was the start for him. And he'd done a lot of stuff. And he'd come in and we were just doing 3-minute rounds of wrestling. And he was physically bigger than me and just ragdolled him for ages.
Yeah.
And I always think about that. I remember that being me. If I take time off from this, it's going to be so hard going back and having your ego brought back down to there. You know what I mean?
Oh, God, yeah.
So, I'll go back and train.
It is. Yeah. So I went to, Lee Dicko.
Yeah.
Lee Dixon. Well, I went to where he was training with Mario Sakata. And I went there, and I hadn't trained for ages because my knee was just goosed. And then that Mario put me in an some side control and then just choked me out like a Von Flute choke with his shoulder, honest to God. It was such a fucking wake up. I knew I hadn't trained for ages and it was just like, I've got to train every day, Neil. Do you know what I mean? I'm 50 now. And if I don't train, my levels just goes right down. I've got to train all the time now. I can't, if I stop, I'm done for. Do you know what I mean? And, it's that way now. You've got to just keep going. I don't want to go and play golf. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to go and play golf. I want to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, you've got.
I know I'm 50, but
you got to keep up that passion, mate. That's half the reason why I'm doing this. I'm doing this pretty
Yeah.
much because it keeps me involved. But
Yeah,
well,
that's it. I just can't wait for the gyms to open. That's it, and I'm done then, made up then. But
yeah,
this has been great though, Neil. Good
Yeah.
fun, mate. Really good fun.
it's not that I'm not having fun, Clark. I've had 2 beers and they've gone through me. We're gonna have to call it a day there, mate. But
No worries, my mate.
remember, guys, if you're in the area, it's Crosby, Oxford Road, and it's Warrior Gym. And Clark's vouch for it myself, great coach, great staff on there. And remember to hit like, subscribe, hit the notifications. And what we'll do is, Clark, I enjoyed that so much. We'll have you on again as soon as possible, mate.
Oh, mate,
If you've
Sam,
got
that
the
was great,
time.
Neil. I really enjoyed it. Nice to see you. Take care, mate.
See you later, mate.
See you, mate.